Welcome to the DFO Fantasy Show for Thursday, October the 16th. I hope everyone's having a fine Thursday morning or afternoon whenever you are watching this. Today, we have the weekend streaming schedule. Dylan unavailable today, so I will be riding solo on today's episode. We will go through all the best weekend streaming targets. There are 5 teams that have the Friday, Sunday schedule this week, so hopefully we can maximize your schedule and help you take home a week 2 victory. Before we get into the weekend streaming, we've got news and notes for October 16th, so let's get into it. Jacob Markstrom is expected to miss a couple of weeks with a lower body injury for the New Jersey Devils. So Jake Allen will take over as the Devils' #1 netminder, and Nico Dawes was recalled from the AHL yesterday to serve as his backup. As of right now, Allen is sitting at just 11% owned. He was spectacular the other night against the Blue Jackets before having to leave that game due to cramping, which is when Jacob Markstrom came in and ended up getting hurt. So Allen looked really good against the Blue Jackets at 11% rostered. If you need goalie help, I think Allen can help provide that. Next is Lucas Raymond. He missed yesterday's game, Wednesday's game, with an upper body injury and is considered day-to-day, but he did take part in the morning skate, which is a really good sign that it's probably not a long-term injury. So at the moment, they're considering him day-to-day. I would consider him questionable to play Thursday and questionable heading into the weekend. Next, the Colorado Avalanche head coach Jared Bednar said that Mackenzie Blackwood's recovery seems to be going really well, and his plan is to return after the next road trip. They have a 1-game trip next week, then they return to Colorado, then they have a 2-game trip after that. I imagine they're talking about that second 2-game trip, which puts them on track to return by the end of the month, likely around their game against the New Jersey Devils on October 28th. So if you're a Blackwood owner, you probably only have a couple more weeks without him. If you are a Darcy Kemper owner, he missed Wednesday's practice and is considered day-to-day. Ante Kopitar also missed the practice. He's considered a game-time decision for Thursday's contest. But as for Kemper, I imagine he's going to miss some time because the Kings went out and traded for Phoenix Copley yesterday. They brought him back. They traded him or acquired him for future considerations. He was part of the Kings organization. He was waived during the start of the month. He was claimed by the Lightning and now traded back to the LA Kings. So Phoenix Copley will probably now serve as Anton Forsberg's backup as long as Darcy Kemper's out. They've called him day-to-day for now. We'll see where this one goes. A couple defensemen to get to now. We've got Hampus Lindholm. Lower body injury is yet to play for the Boston Bruins this season, but he returned to practice on Wednesday and remains day-to-day. Next, the Oilers were hoping that Jake Wallman would be back by Thursday, but that is not going to be the case. He will not play Thursday, but is hopeful to make his season debut this weekend. And then we've got Cam York for the Philadelphia Flyers. He's missed the start of the year with a lower body injury, but will make his season debut on Thursday versus the Jets. So that was today's news and notes. And now we will move on to Brock's Lock of the Day. All right, we have got our friends here at 5v5 Hockey. If you missed yesterday's show, Brock's Lock of the Day is presented to or powered by 5v5 Hockey. They've got a great prop model. Obviously, we're focusing on shots on goal here, but you can go through anything over, under the prop as well. Yesterday, the first Brock Lock of the year, Jake Sanderson, 3+ shots hit right on the money. So we were 1-0. And as I mentioned yesterday, they've got the chatbot here that'll help you have the AI chatbot. Now, let it be known the AI chatbot was wrong yesterday. So Brock 1, AI chatbot 0. I am not going to be replaced by AI yet. Let's start with the AI assistant. Their favorite shot prop tonight is Mitch Marner of the Vegas Golden Knights under 2.5 shots on goal against the Boston Bruins. So that is the AI assistant pick. I'm going with the model here. I'm going to roll with Jason Robertson over 2.5 shots on goal. You can find that at about -150. He has hit this mark in every single game so far this season. He's averaging 5.3 shots on goal per game. But what's most impressive is he's averaging an outrageous, a simply ridiculous 8.3 shot attempts per game so far. And the Canucks are giving up the 11th most shots against in the early portion of the season. So I really like Jason Robertson. If he's firing 8 shots on net tonight to get at least 3 of them on net, and -150 feels like a pretty good number for that. So I really like Jason Robertson, 3+ shots tonight. That is Brock's Lock of the Day, and hopefully we can get off to a 2-0 start. That was Brock's Lock of the Day. Now let's get to weekend streamers. As I mentioned off the top, we've got 5 teams with the Friday, Sunday schedule this weekend. So if you're not familiar with how you stream on the weekend, we're trying to maximize your games played. You're going to have lots of spots in your roster on these light nights on Friday and Sunday. So you can pick up a player on Thursday or Friday morning that will be in your lineup twice this weekend and maximize your games played and hopefully help push you over the edge. So we're going to run through the 5 teams that have the Friday, Sunday schedule. We'll talk about some of the best streaming options from those teams to help you pick up. And then at the very end of the show, I've got a list of my top 10 favorite of the names that I've mentioned so far. So let's get to the schedule here. We've got the Utah Mammoth with the best schedule this weekend. And if you're unfamiliar with this page, it is brand new now at dailyfaceoff.com. It is our strength of schedule tool. You can get there by going to the regular schedule, which will take you to the regular schedule that you've probably used for years. You just click strength of schedule. You get the new strength of schedule. What's beautiful about it is it updates as the week progresses. So as you see here, Monday through Wednesday is already blanked out. So now the strength of schedule is literally only taking into account the games that are remaining this week. Obviously, tonight, if you've got room on your roster, start picking up the Canucks now. They've got 3 games remaining this week. So do the Oilers. So do the Bruins. But the problem with the Oilers and the Bruins, they play Saturday on a 13-game slate. You're probably not going to be able to use those players anyway. So that is why we talk about these light nights. So let's take a look here at the best light night schedules for this weekend. It starts with the Utah Mammoth, followed by the Vancouver Canucks, who I just mentioned, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Washington Capitals, and the Detroit Red Wings. So let's start talking first about the Utah Mammoth. Obviously coming off a impressive win yesterday over the Calgary Flames. My 2 favorite streaming targets from the Mammoth right now are Nick Schmaltz and Barrett Hayton, who are both on the top line. We'll start with Nick Schmaltz. Top line, power play 1. He has no goals and 3 assists so far this season, but has 16 shots on goal, which is 4 shots per game. He's playing 19 minutes and 20 seconds per game so far. Really like Nick Schmaltz. Easily my favorite streaming option of the week. And then Barrett Hayton recently returned to the Utah lineup 2 games ago. In their first game, they had 16 shot attempts for and 0 shot attempts against. So it's been a line that's played really, really well for Utah in the past, and Hayton is much more readily available. Nick Schmaltz is at 32% rostered, where Barrett Hayton is at just 6%. 1 goal he scored yesterday. He's got 3 shots on goal. He's averaging over 17 minutes in his first 2 games of the season. As I mentioned, Nick Schmaltz currently on power play 1, Barrett Hayton dropping down to power play 2 to start. So those are your 2 Utah Mammoth pickups that I would be targeting. Now let's take a look at the Vancouver Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks have kind of, a lot of different options, none of which feel amazing. But Jake DeBrusk is probably the best one overall. He's currently on the top line with Elias Pettersson. Again, if you're in shallower leagues where a player like Brock Besser is available, he's hovering around 50% rostered. He's the obvious pickup, right? So if you go and some of these other players that are higher owned are available, make sure you stream them first. I'm only going through players that are under 30% owned, so hopefully they're widely available for all of the viewers. But if you're in a shallower league where some of these other players are available, make sure you're scooping them up first. But let's get back to Jake DeBrusk, currently on the top line with Elias Pettersson, also on power play 1. He's yet to score this year, but does have 2 assists, 6 shots on goal, so 3 shots per game. 2 shots per game through 3 games. So DeBrusk is kind of just like your just casual 25 goal, 25 assists, 50-point player. He's never really going to be a great long-term hold, but he's really good in these situations where short week here, we only got 2 games out of him. He is capable of producing a couple points and can really provide some value. So DeBrusk is a short-term fantasy asset, not so much a long-term fantasy asset. Next is Conor Garland, who's 6% rostered, currently occupying the second line, also on power play 2. Really, really good year last year. Hasn't done anything so much this year, but no goals, 1 assist, 9 shots on goal, is averaging 3 shots per game and averaging over 18 minutes a night. So playing a lot, getting a lot of pucks on that. I think things will probably start to go his way here sooner rather than later, and we'll start to see him get look a little bit more like the player we saw last year. And then Filip Chytil, Beebs mentioned him on Waiver Wire Wednesday yesterday. He's currently just 3% rostered. He's on power play 1, line 2 right now. The shot volume has been really good for him as well. 3 shots per game, averaging around 17 minutes a night. He's scored twice so far. So I think that you got a couple of decent options there in Vancouver. None of them really stick out as a surefire ad like Nick Schmaltz does, but they all feel pretty decent. Let's get to the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, they've been rolling 7 defensemen and 11 forwards as of late, but this one feels a little weird because they're producing, but I don't know how sustainable it is. I've kind of I mentioned it in my streaming article at the start of the week. Like Frank Nazar has been off to a ridiculous start, but like him, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi haven't really generated much at 5v5. They're just scoring. They're getting pretty fortunate, and that's not going to last forever. But it's hard to ignore what Teuvo Teravainen has done so far. Left wing, right wing eligible, 24% rostered. He's on that second line. He's on power play 1. He has a goal and 5 assists so far, averaging around 18 minutes per game. The problem is he has just 3 shots on goal. That's 0.5 shots per game right now. So, not going to get a lot of goal scoring volume from Teravainen, but he can definitely chip in with assists. He can definitely chip in with some power play points. So if your format includes power play points, I think he's a reasonable pickup right now. But I just don't expect, like, if you're a Nazar owner, like, I'm honestly looking to trade him as a sell high right now. The underlying metrics for that line are just so abysmal. It's just never going to continue. So short term, I like these guys. Long term, not so much. Andre Burakovsky's next. He's on the top line, second power play unit. Connor Bedard still, a bit of a sluggish start so far this season. He's been okay. And Burakovsky's been okay on that top line as well. 2 goals, 1 assist, 8 shots on goal, 16 minutes per game through 5 games. So again, a reasonable option, but I don't like any Blackhawks outside of maybe Bedard long term. And then Colton Dach, Beebs mentioned him yesterday on the Waiver Wire Wednesday episode. He's a banger league pickup right now. He's averaging 5.4 hits per game through 5 games. He's got a little bit of offensive flair to his game, which I mentioned yesterday. He is skating with Bedard. He is on the second power play unit as well. So there's a little bit of offensive upside, but more so in banger leagues is where you're going to pick him up, and any offense he provides is kind of just the cherry on top, the 5.4 hits that you get per game right now. Next, we have the Washington Capitals, which we just got to pull up their line combos. Here we go. Lines have been shuffling a little bit. We saw, Pierre-Luc Dubois injury has kind of moved things around. We don't really know when Dubois is going to be back. It could be their next game, which would change these lines entirely. McMichael would probably move back to the third line. Lapierre would probably be out of the lineup. But either way, McMichael's probably your best streaming target from the Washington Capitals right now. I would much prefer him, obviously, playing in the top 6 with Protas and Tom Wilson. But if he does move back down to that third line, I still think he's an okay streaming option this week. Hasn't done much so far this year, just 1 assist, but does have 8 shots on goal for 2 shots per game in about 15 minutes per game. Ryan Leonard, more of a banger league asset. The hit volume hasn't been great, but he is a guy that can chip in that category, but only playing 11.5 minutes. I don't think he's a super priority stream this week, but in banger leagues, he provides you a little bit more, but I would prefer Colton Dach. Then Anthony Beauvillier continues to skate on the top line. He does have 1 goal so far this year. He has 9 shots on goal, 2.3 shots per game, but averaging under 14 minutes a night. So, the offense is really concentrated here in Washington, right? Like, a lot of it's going to run through Strome and Ovechkin and Protas and Wilson, and it doesn't leave a lot of great streaming options, but there's some okay ones. Sonny Milano, I think you can mention too, right? He's on the top power play unit, but again, if Pierre-Luc Dubois comes back, that's not going to be the case. So I don't really recommend Milano as it currently stands. And then the final team, my Detroit Red Wings. They're off to a very nice start to the season. Disappointing opening night, but have rattled off 3 straight wins versus really, really quality teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Offense has been pretty solid for this team. The top option in Detroit is quite clearly Marco Kasper. Line 2 with DeBrincat and Kane. That line, I mentioned it a lot in the preseason, really, really good last year. The problem was they only shot 6% together, and the production wasn't necessarily as good as it should have been. It has been to start this season. They've been off to a tremendous start. Kasper's been the quiet one, though. I expect that to change the way this line has looked. 1 goal, just 5 shots on net so far, playing around 15 minutes per night. So I would have liked coming into the season to see Kasper play a little bit more, but as a streaming target right now, it's more than enough, and I'm fine with Marco Kasper, currently 20% rostered. The rest of the Red Wings are really kind of just wishy-washy. Like Emmett Finney, obviously skating on the top line with Larkin at 2% owned. He has 2 assists, 5 shots on goal, but just playing 14 minutes a night. I think he's mostly just a deeper league ad. Same with Mason Appleton, like super speculative. Obviously, I would wait as long as I can to add Appleton just because, he's got goals in back-to-back games. He's got 3 goals. He's got 7 shots on goal. He's playing on the top line, but if Lucas Raymond comes back and he's back on the 4th line, he's completely useless to you. So I would wait to maybe see if Raymond gets ruled out for the weekend. I think Appleton's a better stream than Finney. The shot volume has been solid. He can provide a little bit of peripheral stats as well. So wait till see if Raymond is ruled out for the weekend before you're picking him up. And then I think in the deepest leagues, Branson Nygaard's probably the guy that I would feels like has the highest offensive upside after Kasper. That line's looked solid and kind of more of a puck possession role. They haven't generated a ton of offense, but he's got a phenomenal shot. And I think, like, again, in a short-term ad, we're just looking for maybe a goal or two, a goal and an assist to help us over the edge this weekend. I think Brandon Nygaard can provide that on this Red Wings second power play unit. He's the shooting option. Axel Sandin Pellikka just fires and passes, and they just rip one-tees all day on that second unit. So that is kind of like, he feels like the guy after Kasper that has the most upside here for the Detroit Red Wings. So that was your weekend streamers. Now, let's just take a look at the top 10 weekend streamers for this weekend. I've ordered them here for you, and kind of from my favorite to my least favorite, or at least from my top 10. Like I said at the top, Nick Schmaltz is quite clearly my favorite. If he's available, please make sure he is your priority. After that, it feels like a significant tier drop-off. Jake DeBrusk, I think, like I said, not a long-term hold, but a guy that in the short term has the most offensive upside of this group. Teravainen's just got it done. I don't necessarily feel super strong that he's going to continue that run, but he's got the job done so far. Filip Chytil in the same kind of breath as Jake DeBrusk. Not a super long-term hold for me, but the offense has been solid. Top power play unit exposure is great. Then you've got Barrett Hayton. Really, really like that top line in Utah. Obviously feel better about Schmaltz, but if you can't get to Schmaltz, Hayton feels great. And like, they've got the best schedule, right? I mean, this weekend they've got the Sharks and the Bruins. It doesn't get much better than that. You take a look at the Canucks. They got the Blackhawks and the Capitals. One good matchup, one not so great matchup. The Blackhawks have Vancouver and Anaheim, kind of one meh matchup and one great matchup. The Washington Capitals have Minnesota and Vancouver, two kind of fairly difficult matchups. And then Detroit's got Tampa and Edmonton. So really tough matchups there. I still like Marco Kasper as my sixth best, even with the tough matchups, though, followed by Burakovsky, Garland, McMichael, and Colton Dach. Let's just talk really quickly if we could pull back up the strength of schedule here, because we're going to talk about a couple of goalies now that you might be able to stream this weekend. We've got only two teams that have the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. The first being the Boston Bruins. So that leaves Joonas Korpisalo potentially Sunday to face the Utah Mammoth. I obviously am not super fond of that matchup. I'm not super fond of the Boston Bruins. I'm not super fond of Joonas Korpisalo. So I think he's a very risky option this weekend. But again, if you're super desperate, you're just like hoping that maybe the Bruins can pull out a win. They've done some surprising things so far this season. Korpisalo will be an option for you on Sunday. I would prefer Calvin Pickard. He's 20% rostered versus Korpisalo's 2%. Pickard, really, really good in his season debut. He will probably face his former team, the Detroit Red Wings, on Sunday. I would imagine that Stuart Skinner will go tonight against the Islanders and Saturday against the Devils, leaving Pickard to face his former team on Sunday. He was great in his season debut. Obviously, the Oilers have been one of the tightest defensive clubs in the league to start the season. Obviously, they have as much goal-scoring upside as any team in the league, so they can provide their goalies with plenty of goal support. I would prefer Pickard over Korpisalo, but those are your two goalies that are going to get back-to-back starts this weekend. Obviously, keep an eye on dailyfaceoff.com all weekend, because things can change, right? It doesn't always have to be a back-to-back for a backup goalie to get a start on Sunday or even Friday. So if you need goaltending help, keep an eye on dailyfaceoff.com. We're obviously confirming goalies up to the second, up to the minute. And you can make sure you scoop in and pick those goalies up right away. Make sure you get the notifications turned on for the Daily Face-Off tweets as well, if you're still on X, to make sure you get those news updates instantly and you can act quickly on these pickups. So that is going to do it for the weekend streaming targets for week 2. That is also going to do it for this edition of the DFO Fantasy Show. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. As always, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are bringing an episode every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Monday is myself. I preview the week as I'm doing right now, or I guess I'm kind of reviewing the weekend. I preview the entire week on Monday. Tuesday, we bring in guests from around the league to chat about whatever. This week, we had the Islanders and Rangers. They both off to a bit of a slow start. So we had Johnny Lazarus and Stefan Rosner on to chat. Waiver Wire Wednesday, we give you 10 waiver wire pickups every single week. And then Thursday, we do this every single week. We've got the strength of schedule for the weekend to help you navigate. So the DFO Fantasy Channel, obviously going to keep you up to date for everything you need to know to really navigate the fantasy hockey season. And then also, if you're a DFS player, I go live Monday through Friday with my friend Zach Lang. We break down the DFS slate every single day at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So a lot going on here at the DFO Fantasy and Betting Channel, in addition to Matthew Barnaby's betting picks. So a lot going on. Smash the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. We'll see you guys back here on Monday. Thanks for watching this video. If you want more great fantasy hockey and betting content from myself, Carter Hutton, Matthew Barnaby, and the rest of the DFO analysts, make sure you subscribe to the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel today and never miss a minute.